Tuesday, 11:47 at night. The office is empty. He stares at a confirmation screen on his laptop. 30 seconds ago, he moved the first transfer, $200,000, company money, into a personal account. He tells himself it's temporary. 3 years later, $35 million is gone. And the FBI is already in the building. This is the story of how a man who spent 15 years becoming the most trusted person in a company quietly destroyed everything, not with a plan, but with a gamble he couldn't stop making. The question this entire video is going to answer isn't whether he did it. The evidence on that is airtight. The question is, at what exact moment did he know he had already lost? Because the answer to that is not what you expect. And it tells you something true about every organization you have ever worked in. Before we get to that moment, you need to understand what $35 million of trust actually looks like when it's being built. Because this story does not start with a crime. It starts with 15 years of showing up and being exactly who everyone needed him to be. The company is small when he joins. A few dozen people in a cramped office, working on a product nobody is sure will survive. He is brought in to manage the numbers, to build the financial systems from scratch. And he does it well, better than well. He is the kind of person who remembers every detail, anticipates every question before it gets asked, and makes the people above him feel like nothing can go wrong as long as he's watching the books. This is how trust gets built in a company. Not in one moment. In 10,000 small moments where someone proves they already know what needed to happen before you had to ask. The company grows. New investment arrives. The headcount doubles, then doubles again. With that growth comes complexity. More accounts, more entities, more money moving through more places every quarter. And with that complexity comes something dangerous. Not corruption, not dishonesty, access. He becomes one of a handful of people who can authorize significant transfers without a second signature. Not because the company is negligent, because he had spent 15 years being the person you didn't double check. That access is not given. It is earned, slowly, quietly, transfer by transfer, year by year, until it becomes structural. And then 2021 arrives, and everything changes. Here is the thing about the cryptocurrency boom of 2021 that matters for this story. It didn't look like gambling. It looked like certainty. Every asset class was rising. The people who were moving early were making real, documented, public fortunes. And he was sitting inside a company with access to $35 million worth of liquidity and a market that seemed to reward everyone who moved fast enough. The first transfer is $200,000. He has a plan to return it within the quarter before any audit touches it. He knows exactly where to look in the company's reporting structure to make the gap temporarily invisible. He has spent 15 years building that reporting structure. He knows every place where a number can sit quietly for 90 days without drawing a question. The market moves in his favor. Briefly, he makes money. Not enough to return the principal yet, but enough to feel like the thesis is correct. And that feeling is the most dangerous thing that happens in this entire story. Not the first transfer. The feeling after the first transfer that he was right. The second transfer is larger than the third. By the time the total crosses $10 million, he has moved past the point where a single good quarter can close the gap. He needs the market to do something extraordinary. And for a while, it does. Positions are up. He starts calculating a timeline. 6 months, maybe 8. Return everything, rebuild the reporting. Nobody ever knows. The plan feels closer than it has ever been. Then, November 2022 arrives, and the entire cryptocurrency market collapses in the span of 6 weeks. Not a correction, a collapse. Assets that were worth billions are worth nothing. Platforms that processed billions in daily volume file for bankruptcy overnight. And the $35 million he has moved out of company accounts does not just decline in value. Most of it ceases to exist. There's no version of the timeline that gets him home now. There's no number that closes the gap. This is the night the story changes. He is back in the office, late again, the same desk, the same empty floor. He opens the same laptop, except this time there is no confirmation screen to stare at. There's only a balance that used to be $35 million and is now a number so small it takes him several seconds to accept that it is real. What he does next is not panic. That is the part that is hardest to understand. He adjusts the internal records again, one more time, the way he has done it before, to buy himself another quarter of breathing room. He is not trying to get away with it. He is trying to find a way out of a hole he can no longer see the bottom of. The adjustments are smaller now, more careful. The 15 years of knowledge that got him into this is the only tool he has left. The auditors find the first discrepancy in early 2023. It is not the large number. It is a small mismatch in a reconciliation report. The kind of thing that in any other quarter would have been a rounding error. But the forensic accountants who are brought in to look at it are not looking for rounding errors. They are looking for patterns. And within 3 weeks, they have found enough of a pattern to bring in federal investigators. The investigation moves the way financial fraud investigations always do when the digital trail is clean, fast, and very quiet until it is very loud. Cryptocurrency ledgers are immutable. Every transaction he ever made is documented, time-stamped, and traceable. The forensic picture that prosecutors assemble over the following months is one of the clearest paper trails in recent corporate fraud history. There is no gap in the record. There is no ambiguity about who authorized what and when. 15 years of access turned out to be 15 years of evidence. He is convicted on multiple counts of wire fraud. The sentencing documents are public record, and they are worth reading. Not for the legal detail, but for what they reveal about how he described his own actions under oath. He does not describe a plan. He describes a series of individual decisions, each one made in the belief that the next market movement would be the one that let him fix everything before anyone noticed. This is the part of the story where I want to answer the question I asked you at the beginning. At what exact moment did he know he had already lost? The court record gives us a very specific answer. It was not when the market crashed. It was not when the auditors found the first discrepancy. It was not even when federal investigators arrived. According to his own testimony, the moment he knew the position was unrecoverable was the night he made the third transfer. The night the total crossed $10 million, and he realized that the original plan, the one where this was temporary, was already gone. He kept going for another 18 months after that moment. Not because he thought he could win, because he had built so much of his identity, 15 years of identity around being the person in the building who could make any financial problem disappear. And the one problem he could not make disappear was the one he had made himself. The company survived, diminished, restructured, but surviving. 15 years of institutional knowledge walked out of the building in handcuffs, and the people left behind had to rebuild the financial systems from scratch with someone they'd never had to trust before. That is what $35 million of trust actually costs when you spend it, not the money. The 15 years of belief that had to be rebuilt from zero. Every week on this channel, we go inside the stories behind the biggest corporate betrayals in history. Real cases, real consequences. If this one stayed with you, subscribe. The next story is already waiting. It's about a deal that two companies spent 4 years building together. One side knew from day one it would never work. The other side found out 4 years too late. That story is next.